Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Retro Fun or Run. This is where we take a look at a retro game and see if they are still fun or if you should run. The game in question today is Car and Driver presents Grand Tour Racing 98. So hi everyone, this is Chad the Gaming Dad back with you again on another Retro Fun or Run. This is a game I've been wanting to do for a long time, and why not do it now? That's what I say. Let's do it now. So, Car and Driver presents Grand Tour Racing 98. That's a lot of words for one title, but here's how it goes. This thing was developed by a game company called Uchinks, I think? Uchinks? Yeah, I don't know. There it is. That's how it's spelled. That's what it looks like. I don't know how they say it. But Activision here in North America published it, and they were actually the ones that got the Car and Driver sponsor. So here in North America, it's known as Car and Driver Presents Grand Tour Racing 98. But pretty much everywhere else, it's known as Total Driving. This game released in October of 97, a couple years after the PS1 launched, but for me, this was kind of one of my launch titles because I bought this game along with I think probably a hockey game or something when I got my PS1, when I finally got it. I picked up this game just because I like racing games, and I was drawn to this because it looked like it had so many different things going on in just one game. The pictures on the back of the game case looked really cool, and so I grabbed it. So Grand Tour Racing, we'll just call it Grand Tour. We're going to leave off some of the other words. We're going to just shorten it up. Grand Tour Racing. This game squeezed a bunch of different types of vehicles in one game across 6 different locations around the world. And then there's also 6 variations of each track. Sometimes they're going forward, sometimes they're reverse, sometimes they're different time of day or different weather. They also changed the layout a little bit by placing different obstacles in the track. Rocks or fence posts, things like that. Nothing too crazy. Doesn't really change the layout of the track. You're either going forward or reverse, but when you know that the corner's coming up and there's this big boulder in the middle of the road, you got to watch out for that. So, to win, you're going to need to practice, and really you're going to have to memorize the tracks and the obstacles that are on there because there is no map on the screen. Most racing games you're used to seeing a little map in the corner or something showing you what the track looks like and the corners coming up. This one doesn't have it, so you're going to need to know the tracks. As far as controls go, you can choose to use the analog controls, or you can just steer with the D-pad, and then the shoulder buttons are used for like a hard right or a left. I have tried both, and I don't really like the analog because it doesn't have the hard right or the hard left. It's just if you turn the stick or tilt it too far to the left or right, it goes automatically into hard turn. And so when I'm using the analog, there's a constant steering too much and then a really big overcorrection the other way. So you weave back and forth, crashing into the left and the right side of the track. So for me, it's just a lot better to make real small steering changes with the D-pad. But hey, you can figure it out for yourself. So this game has solo play. You can do that either in a career, which is a whole bunch of races lined up, or you could just do one race at a time, solo. You can even do split screen or the link cables. Never did any of that. Really, I've only ever played this solo, either in a one race or a career type. Honestly, I like the one race the best, and the fun really comes in when you try to beat all of the stages, because here's how it works. You do one race at a time, and you start with level 1 on whatever track you choose, and after you win that one, then it unlocks level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, going all the way up. Each one gets harder, a little bit more difficult with the AI. I mean, these guys are out for blood. They're trying to run you off the road every chance they get. And then also the track gets more difficult with more obstacles, things like that. And then on top of that, as you go up in level for each different stage, or whatever you want to call it, world, place in the world, the conditions will change too, where you might have some snow, you might have some rain, things like that. So that's pretty cool. So like I said, in order to win, you're going to have to practice, and you're going to have to be precise. You're gonna have to be really precise to win, especially the higher levels, because it almost feels like perfecting a speed run by the time you get it right, because you just miss each corner perfectly just to keep that speed going. It's pretty cool. There's a thing up in the top left corner that shows you how far ahead the car in front of you is, and then how far behind the one behind you is. So that gives you some gauge as to how close or how far away you are from others. You can do a good bit of catching up in this game if you're behind, and you can also get a pretty good lead too. But one little screw up, if you just miss a corner the wrong way and you hit it, your car's spinning out and you will stop. You have to back up, do all that. They'll catch up to you pretty quickly. Again, you need to practice, and you almost have to do it perfect, especially on the higher levels. You can save your progress on the memory card and just work your way through all the races, and that's kind of fun. There are 8 teams, each from different places around the world, and each team has a set of 5 cars that are used on the various courses. And they do slightly feel a little bit different from one another. So technically, if you wanted to 100% complete this game, you'd have to win all 36 track layouts, and you'd have to do it 8 times, one for each team. So that would be kind of fun. As far as the cars go, the main ones are the sports car, which is just like your standard Ferrari or whatever. I think the American car kind of looks like a Dodge Viper. Does handle a little bit worse than some of the others, so maybe it is a Dodge Viper. But the other ones are rally cars and buggy cars. The buggy cars are the worst. They are really, really hard to steer, and they're super, super touchy. There are also a couple other ones that are on the higher level tracks. There's a larger off-road vehicle, and then also an open wheel Indy style car. So those are pretty cool. So all of this different stuff wrapped up in one game. You know, I've read some reviews and things, and some people say that it would probably have been better for them to just focus on one type of racing instead of doing all these different things, but I really enjoy the variation. Like I said, the buggy is very touchy, and it's the worst driving of all of them, but once you get it right and you make it through and you win a race with a buggy, you really kind of get pumped. And that actually brings me to the music. The music is some of my favorite music of the PS1 era. The music in this game, it actually gets you pumped. Some really fast up-tempo rock tracks with lots of bass and some synth. It's just what you need in this style of racer. It really is a great example of 90s arcade type music. Nice thing about this game is this is one of the ones that you can put in your CD player and you can listen to this stuff right off of the game disc, or like put it in your iTunes or something and go work out at the gym with it. Yeah. So let's take one more look real quick. Let's compare a second here. So this came out a couple years after the original Ridge Racer, which came out when the PS1 came out. So if you look here, it feels like this one has a little bit more going on than Ridge Racer, but that's another, I don't know, that's another great game that people look back on. So then Gran Turismo, everybody knows Gran Turismo, that changed the whole driving world. And that came out not long after this game. And that really is the original sim racing granddaddy, but the graphics there are a little bit better, and the racing is always great, but I think Gran Tour Racing holds up next to it in a bit of a more arcade way, but it's got its own set of challenges. And then I also am going to show you Ridge Racer 4. This one came out a couple of years after Gran Tour Racing, and the graphics on Ridge Racer 4 are even better. And it's also another one of the all-time favorite games, Ridge Racer 4. It's so smooth, so fast, and great music too. But looking at it against Gran Tour, it might be more polished, but Gran Turismo Racing still has some fun and challenge in it that you don't find in Ridge Racer 4. Ridge Racer games are pretty unique in the way that you have to drive those ones. So, with all of that said, obviously this is a game that I loved from way back in the day, and I got a lot of nostalgia for it. But here on this video, we have to find out and ask the question, is it still fun today? So, I personally was having a pretty good time recording gameplay for this, but then my 12-year-old daughter came in, she saw it, and she wanted to give it a try. Now, I expected that because of the old graphics and everything, PlayStation 1, she probably would have been done after a minute or so and said, yeah, nice, Dad, whatever, that game's old. And that's not the case. That's not what happened. I saw her humming along with the great soundtrack, and she actually restarted a race and got a better time the next time, and then actually was able to finish first place. And she was actually pumped when she won. Kind of just like me back when I played this in 1998. So really, that's all you need to know. This game, it is still fun. Hey, thanks everybody for sticking with me and watching the entire video. I hope you liked it. The best way to help out the channel is to leave a like, leave a comment, and tell your friends. If you'd like to support the channel further, there are links in the description. But otherwise, always remember that you never outgrow video games. My name's Chad the Gaming Dad, and we'll see you on the next one. So long, everybody.